Thank you, Mr. Speaker, with candy in my mouth. To the motion.
With candy in your mouth to the motion.
Yeah. House Bill 3471 seeks to offer protection for workers in settlement negotiations with employers. However, the bill with the amendment accounts for a key factor that eliminates any power imbalance: the representation of the worker by legal counsel. When both parties are represented by qualified attorneys, they can engage in negotiations on a more level playing field. When a worker is represented by an attorney, they have access to information and advice that would otherwise not be available to them. This includes understanding their rights, learning about the employer's position and what they can expect from negotiating process, and receiving guidance on how best to reach a satisfactory agreement. With this support, employees are better equipped to make informed decisions for themselves, rather than being forced into unfavorable settlements due to an unequal power dynamic. Additionally, having an attorney represent their interest also allows workers to negotiate with a stronger position. Attorneys understand all aspects of labor law and can use their knowledge when holding discussions with employers or mediators. This allows them to protect the workers' interests more effectively while ensuring that any agreement reached is legally binding and enforceable by both parties. On my side of the state, I have to tell you that the majority of the employees that work for me are non-English speaking people. And so to me, I would think that having an attorney present that spoke both languages would be to the best interest of both parties. Finally, it's important to note that hiring an attorney does not necessarily mean going through expensive litigation. Many times, attorneys can help settle disputes quickly, cost-effectively, through negotiation or mediation. As such, workers should not be afraid of retaining counsel, but instead embrace it as an opportunity to ensure they enter into agreements that are fair and equitable for everyone involved. In conclusion, I urge you to vote for the motion. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, to the bill.
To the bill.
Today I stand before you to oppose House Bill 3471, which would make it unlawful for employers to require workers to enter into settlement agreements that contain provisions barring them from seeking further employment or reinstatement with the same employer. I understand why this law may seem necessary on the surface level, but it will actually do more harm than good in the long run. First and foremost, this law's main purpose is to protect workers from feeling trapped in their positions with no chance of advancement. However, this protection comes at a cost. It removes the employer's ability to both incentivize and retain their top-performing employees. This means that employers would have less incentive to offer wage increases and promotions, since once an employee reaches a certain level of seniority, they cannot be removed from their position. This could create stagnation within the workplace and result in fewer opportunities for career growth for employees. Furthermore, if employers are unable to incentivize their employees with meaningful career advancement opportunities due to this new law, this will affect most of my employees because we do this. Those same employees may look elsewhere for better options, which could lead to a shortage of qualified workers in certain industries or sectors. In addition, this new law could potentially discourage employers from hiring new talent, since they would face an increased risk of losing quality staff, and should they choose not to renew an expired agreement. Finally, this proposed law stands in direct opposition to what is already established by many state laws across the country, that employment relationships are at will, meaning either party can terminate at any time for any reason or no reason. By banning all settlement agreements that include a provision barring workers from seeking further employment or reemployment with the same employer, we are effectively taking away an employer's right to modify existing contracts and removing an important tool used by businesses when hiring new contracts, all without taking into consideration any potential impacts on existing labor relations or businesses' practices as a whole. In conclusion, while this bill may seem like a good way of protecting workers' rights on the surface, its implications will far outweigh any potential benefits it may bring. The detriment it could cause businesses over time is simply too great and can result in fewer job opportunities overall instead of more. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the bill.
To the bill.
House Bill 3426 is an important piece of legislation that will take steps to better support firefighters and other first responders. This bill requires 988 crisis call centers to develop policies and train their staff to respond to those first responders who might be at high risk. The current system lacks the necessary infrastructure and expertise to provide proper care for these individuals who are often under extreme emotional, physical, and mental stress due to their work conditions. By establishing a framework for providing specialized training for crisis call centers, House Bill 3426 takes a vital step towards decreasing the risk associated with being a firefighter or a first responder. This bill will help reduce the number of suicides among first responders, a growing problem in our country. In 2022 alone, more than 125 firefighters died by suicide, according to the Ruderman Family Foundation. That's almost twice as many as died in the line of duty that year. By providing additional resources and support, we can begin to tackle this issue head on. Furthermore, this bill can also help decrease the high rates of PTSD among firefighters and first responders, something that has been linked with increased risk of substance abuse disorder, domestic violence, and divorce in the countless other health complications. Not only does this bill have the potential to save lives by preventing suicides among first responders, but it could also improve countless other aspects of their lives too. We must do all we can to ensure that these brave men and women who risk their own safety every day in order to protect us are given the support they need and deserve when off duty as well. Thank you for your time, and I urge you to support House Bill 3426 today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the bill.
To the bill.
House Bill 3442 is an important tool for increasing the supply of affordable housing on the coast, and we owe it to our neighbors by Oregon's beaches to ensure that they are not priced out of their own communities. State local currently allows local governments to review a variety of factors prior to denying or conditioning affordable housing applications. Factors include the nature of the property's ownership and whether the development will be built on land zoned for residential use. When a local government denies an affordable housing application, decisions may be appealed to the Land Use Board of Appeals, a tribunal of lawyers appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate to serve 4-year terms. We passed Senate bill during the 2021 legislative session restricting local governments from limiting or denying affordable housing applications on lands within the city's urban growth boundary. This was subject to certain zoning and property ownership conditions. When the measure did not do was allow the provisions of the bill to apply to lands where property is located in 100-year-old floodplains or areas constrained by state land use planning natural disaster regulations. The people in our local communities always know what is best and about how to actively manage their land and keep their communities safe. House Bill 3442 will allow local governments to approve affordable housing projects located in 100-year floodplains or areas constrained by state land use planning natural disaster regulations. These developments must be within the urban growth boundary of cities located within 10 miles of the Pacific Ocean, in areas that must abide by federal and local floodplain and flood insurance regulations. However, developments could not be sited in parks or locations without floodways. Certain areas identified in this measure can also be cited by local governments as reasons to prohibit an affordable housing development, as well as require a conditional use permit or zone changes. Cities affected by the measure must meet additional conditions for the law to apply. More than 60% of lands within the urban growth boundary where the property is located must be within a tsunami inundation zone. Alternately, more than 30% of the lands within the urban growth boundary may be located within a 100-year floodplain. The committee members did not send this legislation to the floor without serious effort. Conversation ranged from limiting the provisions to specific communities and changing building standards for risk minimization to updating disaster recovery plans and permitting siting in parks. They especially focused on minimizing the impact to protect humans and the environment. The amendments to House Bill 3442 ensure that we are addressing Oregon's housing crisis without causing harm in the future. Today, we have a concrete opportunity to expand affordable housing on the coast. The coast is home to many Oregonians, not just a place we visit. I urge you to join the sponsors in voting yes on important legislation that affects their communities. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the bill.
To the bill.
House Bill 3435. Am I on the right one? Yeah, I am. It's a simple housekeeping bill that we should all be able to get behind. In 1987, the Oregon Pre-Kindergarten Program was created as the Beaver State's analog to Head Start, which provides low-income children and families with early learning, health and nutrition, and family support services at no cost. Head Start's reach is limited, and OPK provides grants to private and public providers to support families left behind. In 2019, the Early Learning Division projected that 62.5% of eligible children will be served by these early childhood support programs during the 2019-2021 biennium. These included 4,400 children served by Head Start, along with 8,100 served by OPK. Head Start and OPK are the first line of defense for children in foster care or whose families fall below the federal poverty line, receive public assistance, and lack housing. Early Head Start offers prenatal services to children up to 3 years of age, while Head Start itself tends to the needs of 3 to 5-year-olds. OPK originally served just Head Start's key demographic, but now serves children from prenatal to kindergarten ages. This development necessitates a name change to clarify OPK's mission. House Bill 3435 updates statutory definitions and provisions referring to the Oregon Pre-Kindergarten Program, changing OPK's official name to Oregon Prenatal Kindergarten Program. Rather than setting an exact age on participation, OPK would now be open to all Oregon's children until they enroll in kindergarten. OPK providers would be allowed to participate in the State Interagency Coordinating Council. On the financial side, House Bill 3435 repeals a requirement that OPK funds be used to grow the program and may not supersede federally supported Head Start programs. At the Treasury, the Pre-Kindergarten Trust Fund will become the Oregon Prenatal to Kindergarten Program Trust Fund. Lastly, previous legislation findings regarding financial investments in early learning are repealed while other definitions are removed. This session, we have an opportunity to consolidate early learning and prenatal care programs and provide grants to providers for multiple years. I urge you to join me in voting yes to support the education of Oregon's most vulnerable young children. Thank you.